Hi, all my Taurus friends. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today to talk about your monthly horoscope for May 2023. It is a big month in general and a super big month for Taurus. These videos that I do are based on your rising sign. So this is referring to Taurus rising. It is also applicable to Taurus moon and Taurus suns. And if you have 3 or more personal planets in Taurus, that's considered a stellium, and it is a focus, I believe, that the soul has for its experience here on Earth. And so I think this is very powerful as well. So you should check that. This is whole sign Western astrology, and the time zone is based on the Pacific time zone. So please adjust for your location. So Taurus, let's just jump in with the beginning of the month. Pluto is beginning its retrograde on May 1st. It has been at the 0 degrees of Aquarius for about 6 weeks or so. It's dipped its toe into Aquarius to give us just a bit of a feel of what's going to go on for the next 20 years when Pluto moves into Taurus permanently in 2024. This 0 degree squares Taurus by nature. I say that because as an intuitive astrologer, I believe that the squares are a tense conversation between 2 parts of myself. One is a very instinctual pattern part of myself. It's what I always believe. It's how I always respond. It's sort of my go-to dynamic. And then the other part of the aspect, the square, is the evolved version of me, an awareness that I have, a part of me that is implementing change and shifting, and yet it's not deeply rooted yet. So it requires more focus and consciousness to purport this energy. So here's Aquarius representing revolution, representing liberation from things, representing innovation, technology, moving forward. And Taurus by nature rules history, what has come before. It rules my possessions, it rules my money, it rules beauty and luxury in some ways, the comfort of my home. And here, when we're seeing Pluto beginning its toe tip into Aquarius, both signs are fixed signs. So there is already this tension of not wanting to shift my point of view. And yet at the same time, I feel as if there's an intuitive awareness for Taurus that the shift is been teed up for some time. And it's almost as if there's been a sculptor in your first house chipping away the things that aren't working for you. The ruler of Aquarius is Uranus. In modern times, Saturn in ancient times. Uranus has been transiting your first house for quite some time, I believe since like 2017. So you have been feeling the winds of change. You've been seeing this opportunity to liberate yourself from old stories that may be true, but they're no longer serving your happiness or the direction you want to move. Pluto will retrograde back into Capricorn, and it will go all the way to 27 degrees. For Taurus, this is going to really give you an opportunity to look at some structures, what you've built. Capricorn represents what we built. It represents also our fears and where we can get paralyzed, where we can perpetrate the same behaviors because they're expected of us and they are in some ways required of us by other people. And in order to feel connected, we continue to purport a behavior or to purport a service that doesn't actually put us in the mix, make us feel happy. So I think this is really powerful because as we get into October, Pluto will begin its direct motion in Capricorn, leaving Capricorn and moving into Aquarius for the next 20 years in January 2024. At the same time, Jupiter's moving into your first house, but I will get to that in just a minute. We have a lunar eclipse on the 5th of May, which is at 14 degrees Scorpio. This means that what we're having is a full moon. The sun will be at 14 degrees Taurus. The moon will be at 14 degrees Scorpio. And they are going to reflect on each other to create a big spotlight on something. And this is happening in your seventh house of relationships. It is happening not just in personal relationships, but in business relationships. It's also going to represent the seventh house, where we find civility, where we find cooperation, where we find unity, where we find harmony, where we find peace. Taurus has been on the eclipse axis since fall of 2022. You've had the North Node transiting through your first house for almost a year and a half. There's been a huge amount of opportunities for shifting yourself into an energy that feels more authentic to the evolved version of yourself. So this lunar eclipse for me, which is happening on May 5th at 10:34 a.m. Pacific time, is making some very interesting aspects to other planets. And other planets are having conversations during this eclipse that makes me feel as if I on an intuitive level as a Taurus, I overhear them. I'm talking metaphorically, not saying I literally hear the planets talk, but I can feel these conversations coming up that are calling forth a part of me to stand up for what I want to experience, for what I want to birth, for allowing my voice a platform, for allowing my desires to be a priority. We see during this eclipse, let me back up for 1 second. This Scorpio lunar eclipse is the second lunar eclipse ruled by Mars. First, we had the solar eclipse in April 2023 that was Aries. That's ruled by Mars. And Mars is the co-ruler of Scorpio. I believe that this Mars energy is very much representing a hero's energy. It is really a willingness to go in and be brave into looking at what is working for me and what is not. And I think this is further evidenced by Mars's 7-month journey through Gemini, when Mars was interacting with the community, interacting with their teammates, becoming more aware of how am I speaking, how am I listening, how is my body language reflecting my openness to what is sitting across from me, not just trying to get my opinion out. Mars can be very self-focused. So here, I believe this is really indicating this brave attitude, this willingness to not judge, not place shame or regret on a situation, but rather just take it as a piece of information and an opportunity to move the story forward. We have, again, this eclipse is happening in your 7th house of partnerships, and we may see that you feel if you're not getting a real opportunity to be heard, that you're going to start to want to reevaluate what's happening within your 7th house energy, whether you're married, whether you're in a business partnership. The 7th house represents where we actually sign contracts and we're legally bound in some way. So I think this is important. The sun at 14 degrees Taurus is also making a conjunction to Uranus at 18 degrees Taurus. Now, the 18th degree is the degree of Virgo. And on a bottom level, it's the degree of slavery, where we are doing something, or we are required to do something, or we're enslaved to our jobs because we're enslaved by our bills and all the monetary responsibilities that we have. And here, I really think that this eclipse is going to bring a bright light on where I'm actually being required to be responsible for something, and where my sense of responsibility may be enslaving myself to something. Again, this is happening in the house of partnerships, and oftentimes, your Venus ruled by nature. The 7th house is Venus ruled by nature, so you could very much attach a lot of your self-worth to your partnerships, and this might liberate you from that in the way that it allows Taurus to see themselves as a valuable and cherished member of that situation. We also have Venus is just finishing her her journey through Gemini. On the 5th of May, she'll be at 27 degrees Gemini, making a square to Neptune in Pisces at 26 degrees. Pisces is your Pisces is your 11th house, Taurus, and Venus being in Gemini is your 2nd house. These houses to me very much speak of how you make your money, how you operate within your networks, your hopes and your dreams. The 11th house is by nature where we see the collective consciousness, where we see a focus on humanity, where we see raw genius and we see innovation and technology. Pisces is a very creative sign. It is a very dreamy sign. And in its highest vibrations, it creates a beautiful sort of nirvana energy that we all want to swim in and to bask in. So here, I think that this Venus in Gemini squaring Neptune in Pisces for you is really you being able to really birth this part of yourself, allow this creativity. And yet you may be a little bit concerned because you're wondering, am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Am I communicating well enough? At the same time, Venus is making a sextile to Jupiter, which is in Aries. Aries is going to be your 12th house. And as a result of that, there is this feeling of ancestral soul DNA/karma that you're getting an opportunity to recognize. It also, the 12th house is the natural house of Pisces. So there could very well be a strong pull to birth something that will bring bounty to you that is of your own specific creative endeavor. It could be songwriting, it could be dance, it could be, I don't even want to try to describe what kind of creativity it could be because I don't want to limit you. The 2nd house by nature rules food, it rules chefs, it rules the voice, it rules my skills. So it would rule people from carpenters and craftsmen to singers and bandmates. So it could be almost anything. And I think it's really kind of up to you, Taurus, to pick what's most fun and to capitalize on that and to continue this journey of moving forward. Because, and I'm going to get to it in a minute, Jupiter is going to move into your 1st house in the middle of the month for a year-long stay, which is going to really bring you opportunities to expand and to capitalize and to make money, wealth. So while the eclipse is happening, while there's this illumination, this full moon really showing me something I had been aware of maybe on a subconscious level, but now it's kind of in my face. It's giving me an opportunity to liberate myself, to really find my own self-worth and to birth my own creativity first within myself and then out into the world. Okay, so that covers the eclipse. And again, I want to emphasize that these last 2 eclipses were Mars ruled, and in that respect, asking me to be a hero in my own life, to be the brave one that is not sitting in judgment of what has not been, but rather is sitting in excitement of what will be as I take one methodical step after another towards that dream. On the 7th, Venus will enter Cancer. Cancer is Taurus's 3rd house. So I feel as if this is really an opportunity for you to start to feel more comfort and more at home and more trusting of your intuitive body as you're birthing the things that came up at the lunar eclipse. I feel as if this is kind of also a feeling of being a little bit nostalgic. You may spend time with your siblings or your cousins. You may kibitz and chat with them more. You may also inadvertently feel a real hankering for your childhood comfort foods and to visit some of the things of your childhood. Cancer rules home, hearth, and family. The 3rd house by nature rules my siblings, my neighborhoods, my everyday life. So you could be feeling this kind of warm, fuzzy feeling while Venus is in Cancer. On the 14th of May, Mercury goes direct. Mercury is having its retrograde in Taurus in your first house. Now, this was something that came very much through my meditation, and I was inspired to go look where the moon was going to be when Mercury started its retrograde. The moon moves so quickly that the idea of it being conjunct Mercury at the exact moment that Mercury went retrograde, that was at 1:34 a.m. Pacific time, made me feel intuitively as if this is really a retrograde focused on my emotional body, my self-care, how much do I listen to my inner voice, all the things ruled by the moon, very much allowing myself to reflect, reevaluate on the things that are most important to me in my heart. And as an individual, do that, I offer an invitation to everyone I meet to mirror that vibration, to put themselves as a priority. And when we have this understanding, there's a certain acceptance to each other's individuality and journey and self-focus without criticism. So I think that Mercury, as it goes direct, is going to give Taurus an opportunity to really start to, put your mind, your body, meaning your body language, your thoughts, your ears, everything that has to do with communication now gets to move forward in this way. We started that retrograde at 15 degrees Taurus, which was very close to Uranus. Mercury is the lower octave of Uranus. So this is a lot about thought, about processing through our communicative skills. And it went all the way back to the 5th degree, which is the Leo degree of following my heart and being courageous in that way and allowing myself to express myself and to enjoy myself. So as it moves forward, I feel as if this is really Taurus's opportunity to not necessarily plant seeds, but to tend to my garden, to methodically allow myself to continue this pacing myself towards the alignment to my dreams and anchoring in the belief that they are viable and they are possible. We have on the 17th, Jupiter is going to enter your first house. This is just now Jupiter is entering the first house. We've got Mercury in the first house. We still have the North Node in your first house. There is so much going on for you. And I think of it, I just got chills all the way down the right side. This is a little bit of an opportunity too for Taurus, because you're a fixed sign, not to judge any of the energies that you tend to be stubborn about. I have a Taurus moon, and I know that there's parts of me that just can be rigid. And I don't know that the universe is asking me to drop those devices as much as they're asking me to have a more discerning eye as to whether those strong feelings are holding me to an old story or allowing me flexibility into a new story. Jupiter, as it enters your first house, will be squaring Pluto retrograde at 0 degrees Aquarius. Again, here's this opportunity for a new idea, yet it's tense because there's a part of me that's been thinking this way, and now I'm trying to implement new thought processes, new opportunities, starting very much with the laws of attraction, being aware of how my thoughts represent my beliefs, and those thoughts usually end up coming out of my mouth in some way. So there's a whole system of communication going on that aligns with our manifestation. So this Pluto retrograde giving me an opportunity to see how I allow myself to reinvent myself. The awareness of Uranus going through my first house as a Taurus rising has been calling forth this liberation, this revolution of the old, and this new, exciting, futuristic possibilities that are still in the gestation period of time. We're still creating them. We're still allowing them room to breathe and grow and expand. We see Jupiter also squaring Mars at 28 degrees Cancer as it's about to enter Leo. So this is an orb now, about 2 degrees. And this energy of Jupiter squaring Mars as it leaves Cancer and enters Leo will start around the 20th, 21st of May and go through all the way through the beginning of June. We're going to start to see a T-square. We will see Mars moving into Leo, opposing Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, and both are going to be squaring the north and the south node. This, to me, is the beginning of a 2-week, almost 3-week period as the conjunction gets tighter and tighter, of really sort of having this strong awareness of the old and the new. The T square feels as if the T is representing transformation now. And the square, again, from Teri's point of view, is here I'm very aware of reacting a certain way. I'm very, I know who and what I am, and this is who and what I want to be. I don't want to abandon my old self. I just want to be more constructive in how I express that. So I begin to engage people on my team to help move my story forward. And when it's a fixed sign, sometimes there is a rigidity where it's more like, I want you to change. I'm not going to change. And that dynamic doesn't work, again, creating the T square. So it could be very tense and very transformational as we're aware of our own energy going into that. This is a very, very powerful dynamic. And I think people are going to feel it, again, for weeks. And I think there's, I also want to offer this, because this T square is Jupiter is starting to make a conjunction with the North Node. So if Jupiter is having an expanded influence on the T square. Now, Jupiter rules things like the law, it rules foreign country, foreign places, it rules big ideologies and philosophies, it rules in some ways geography, because we go from one place to another. It rules the social sciences in many ways, because it's up there looking at things from a big perspective. How do we as humanity process things? In various places in the world, certain dynamics are normal and they are accepted. And then you go to the other side of the planet, and these very normal accepted practices are heinous and crimes on this side of the planet. So it's really, this dynamic is offering us a broader perspective in diversity in how we view things. And rather than dropping things down, into categories of good or bad, we're starting to see hues of sometimes what appears to be bad is actually disruptive, and it moves us into a good space. Because I think this is very important, because Jupiter is going to shift our beliefs. It's going to expand our opportunities and bring in real rooted opportunities for wealth as we step into a deeper faith in ourselves. Jupiter also rules the legal system. So there could be the end of some sort of situation if you're engaged in legal dynamics right now, or some sort of lawsuit or something. You could find that this all comes to fruition in May and is culminated. Okay, we also have a new moon in Taurus at 28 degrees, which I think is fabulous, because the 28th degree reduces down to a 10, the 10 reduces down to a 1. So here I am aware of my thoughts, how my thoughts are focusing. The 28th degree is also the Cancerian degree. So are my thoughts allowing for my own self-care? Am I allowing myself to believe in my skills? Am I giving myself a pat on the back for what I'm produced and for what I've become aware of, and for how I've been brave within my own willingness to look at the things that maybe have made me, they've maybe put me in a little bit of a loop, because I was unwilling to be flexible at one point, and now I'm willing to be more flexible about a situation. The new moon is making a trine aspect to Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, Aquarius being your 10th house of career. So the new moon could very much offer you an opportunity. Now, I want to say it this way, because we're looking at the degrees become important here, because naturally Taurus squares Aquarius, but because Pluto is so close to the line of Capricorn, the house of Capricorn, and the moon is moving at the very last degrees of Taurus. So this is why the trine aspect comes into play, because Taurus naturally trines Capricorn. So there's this feeling of cooperation coming in as I'm willing to look a little bit deeper. And then the 0 degree giving me this sort of whoosh of energy, this like force, this infusion of energy to liberate myself from where at least I know I've held myself in a pattern. We also see the new moon making a sextile to Mars. Mars will be at 29 degrees Cancer. The 29th degree is the Leo degree. Cancer, again, my intuitive body, my emotional body, my willingness to nurture myself and realize that that is as important as it is to nurture others, and a lot of reconciliation about my home experience and whether I want to continue to take that experience if it has been challenging and move it into my future, meaning your childhood experience. The new moon also makes a sextile to Neptune at 27 degrees Pisces. The 27th degree is the Gemini degree. So I'm seeing layers and layers and layers of awareness of my thought for Taurus. I'm seeing an openness now to examine if my thoughts are serving my future or if they're just anchoring me to my past. It's not about whether I'm right or wrong at this point. It's about whether or not I want to be happy and being willingness to move that direction. And this new moon in Taurus gives us an opportunity to really root that in. And I also want to mention this because I was watching Molly McCord a little while ago, I don't know, it was a few days ago, and she mentioned that the 2 new moons in Aries flipped the script on the moon cycle for a period of time. So we're going to go through where we normally would have a new moon and then a full moon. We're going to start experiencing full moons preceding the new moon. It will course correct in a few months, I believe. I'll have to check the dates on that, but I think this is very powerful as well because we get an illumination before we plant our seeds. We get an opportunity to see things more clearly before we really start to tend to that garden. Normally, when we're planting new seeds in the new moon, we're doing it in the darkness, in faith, in a very unknowing place. But in this shift of the cycles, I think we're going to have more information, more awareness, more intuitive trust, more a bigger ear to hear my inner voice. And that is going to help me to be more faithful as I'm planting those seeds in the new moon. The new moon is in your first house. So there's so much going on for Taurus as how you view yourself, the permissions you give yourself for your own evolution, the pats on the back that you give yourself. It's a real opportunity to stand in your power and in your light and to be proud of yourself, if you ask me. Also, the fixed grand cross that I was speaking of earlier, the opposition between Mars and Pluto, and then the squaring to the nodes. And again, Jupiter's creeping into this dynamic. I kind of feel like as they come up, it sends an energetic beam and it lights up those aspects. So here we're going to see this fixed grand cross very much light up themes from the solar eclipse. It almost feels as if the opposition is more about an opportunity, but the opportunity both mentally, emotionally, and potentially within the physical world will not be a guarantee. So you're going to have to take a risk of some kind. And Taurus may not always like to take a risk because it wants to be sure of itself before it moves forward. So if for some reason there is a risk on the table, this may be a great opportunity to double down on yourself and put all your chips on ante them in. On the 21st, Mars will officially enter Leo and the Sun will enter Gemini. And finally, on the 31st, the moon is going to be conjunct the South Node in Scorpio. And I think this is very powerful because I feel as if with Scorpio being your 7th house, this could be a very emotional day. It could be a day of where there's some sort of feeling of loss or feeling of an old pattern coming up that makes me feel loss or feel maybe not as valuable. And at the same time, I think this is also a call to action, to step into the now and to look and see if you're inadvertently going so far into your history that your history keeps kind of sliming your future and sliming your present. I just, with the idea that the South Node is in Scorpio, there's again this feeling of reviewing my power in a situation. Do I feel powerful? And it may not be because I have money or because of, the other dynamics we associate with Scorpio, as much as it may be, do I really feel heard by people? Because you can tell the difference between somebody who's really listening to you and somebody who's just waiting for you to stop talking so they can put their opinion out on the table. And so I think that might be something that comes up. It's also, I believe that there's the beginning of the summer weekends are around the 31st. So there may be some things going on inadvertently where we are feeling, I don't know why I want to put it this way for Taurus, but there could also be a feeling of a lack of movement for some reason. I don't know why I want to put it that way. When I look at the moon conjunct the South Node in Scorpio in your 7th house, you may somehow feel a sense of loss on that day. I don't know what it is. I don't think it's like a breakup. It just may be an old pattern coming up, so you could recognize whether or not it's actually current or it's an imprint that you, again, somehow have defaulted to. And now this is an opportunity for that South Node to really let that old thought bury it. That's the way I want to put it. When I think about the South Node, I think it's an opportunity to be egoless in a situation, which offers me opportunity where if I'm not judging whether it really works, maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe I've been edging God out. And as a result of what appears to be a loss, there's really a new opening. There's a new beginning. So that's what I have to say for my Tauruses for the month of May. It's a really powerful time for you. The next year is going to be very powerful, and Jupiter will be visiting Uranus over that year. So you're going to have an opportunity to liberate yourself in ways. I mean, financially, you could just start to skyrocket, but it will be about being brave and about being willing to recognize any energies where you tend to be overly fixed and overly, God bless you, stubborn, and being a little bit more pliable. And that will give life to a new experience, which you could then anchor into your current situation. All right, everybody, thank you so much. My name is Teri Hunter. Please like, please subscribe, please comment, and share these videos. And join me Sunday mornings, 11 a.m. Pacific time, where we do our weekly angel and tarot readings based on the sign and looking at the transits for the week ahead. All right, everybody, peace out. Peace.